OPPO is a name that is slowly creeping into markets across the world, even if they haven't hit the US yet. While most of their phones hang out in the mid-range section of the market, they can offer features and form factors that might make you believe they were full-fledged flagships. The company brought me out to Shenzhen to check out their newest phone that was just made available for sale, and while it might not compete with Samsung or Huawei's best and brightest, it does have a charm that makes me think it's not always the insides that matter. This is our hands-on of the OPPO R15 and R15 Pro. Just to get it out of the way, neither of these are running Qualcomm's Snapdragon 845. The standard R15 is running a MediaTek HELIO P60 processor, while the Pro model adopts Qualcomm's Snapdragon 660. The brains might not be fully up to speed on the cutting edge of the industry, but the rest of the internal features of this thing rival pretty much every other flagship on the market right now. It has 128GB of storage and a microSD card slot to store all your movies and music, which you can enjoy through the included headphone jack, and the 6GB of RAM should help make multitasking a breeze. Top it off with the 18.99 by 9 6.28-inch OLED display, and you would think that you had a high-end flagship in your hands. Considering this is probably almost the exact same body as the OnePlus 6 though, this body will likely make its way to flagship territory in the coming months. The standard R15 is using a 3450 mAh battery, while the Pro sports a 3400 mAh option. And while this is fairly standard for phones right now, we'll have to see how that enormous OLED display affects battery life. Yes, this phone has a notch, but whether you like it or not, that's going to be the trend for smartphones in 2018. To the phone's credit, the notch is a bit smaller than other notch devices coming out this year, and it's housing a 20 megapixel f2 sensor that actually shoots pretty great selfies. This was probably made to accommodate the extensive AI-based face mapping software that OPPO just stuffed into this thing, and while I had a lot of fun with the software, we probably won't be seeing these features come to the OnePlus 6 later this year. Face Unlock is also present here, so if you don't want to use the oblong fingerprint reader sitting in the back of the phone, you can always just hold it up to your face. I did find this feature a bit inconsistent in my time with the phone though, so you might want to stick to your fingerprint for now. The rear cameras are also fairly high resolution, with the Pro model sporting a dual 16 and 20 megapixel shooter, while the standard edition employs a 16 megapixel and a 5 megapixel lens. The photos we shot at the event looked pretty good, but OPPO did set up a really fancy room with really fancy lighting, so we're gonna have to see how this fares in the real world later on. I'm still pretty disappointed to see that OPPO hasn't included USB-C in any of their devices so far. Micro USB just feels old and outdated at this point, though the inclusion of VOOC Fast Charge does help ease the pain just a bit. ColorOS 5.0 is based on Android 8.1 Oreo, so I am glad to see that OPPO is keeping their phones up to date at launch. You might mistake the OS for iOS though, because there's no app drawer and a lot of the icons look really similar to the iPhone equivalent. Still, it's not a bad skin by any standard, and it feels pretty light overall. The standard R15 comes in red, white, and a gradient purple color, while the Pro comes in black and a gradient red. This gradient trend kind of came out of nowhere with the recent Huawei P20, but I'm not complaining because it looks pretty great. So this has been the OPPO R15 and R15 Pro. The Chinese version is available now, and we're not sure when the international version will hit other markets, but be sure to stay tuned to Android Authority for more information the minute that happens. Because of course, we are your source for all things Android.